Welcome everyone. Just want to thank AgVic for the invitation, and Dale for that very thorough background on what's been going on around Australia. So yes, I based in Brisbane, look after mainly horticulture at the Bureau of Meteorology. And yeah, full disclosure, I'm not a meteorologist or a climatologist, so we'll leave that to the experts. And yeah, most of my experiences come working out of the Brisbane markets, essentially buying and selling fruit and veg and helping growers with compliance. So a little bit of an overview of what I'm going to cover today, an intro to our ag team. Why do we have an ag team? So use some useful water, weather and climate tools that I see Dale has used some in his presentation. A bit of a long range forecast education and explainer. Some training resources, latest changes that may impact you, and a bit of a what's next for our ag team and agriculture here. So this is our team. We've got a small team of agriculture and land management specialists. We have, where I look after horticulture, we have a similar colleagues, Andrew with livestock and Michaela with broadacre, and we've got some project workers as well. So why do we have an ag program at the Bureau of Meteorology? So the Bureau has always recognised the importance of agriculture for Australia. The program itself has existed in some form or another for about 8 to 10 years now. We are here to help support and contribute to industry set production targets, and also productivity, which is a big one on the lips of those. Tools for decision making. So farm businesses generally use weather, water and climate information to make decisions, we feel, in the following way. And our aim is to align our products and services to those decisions. So we've got various products that can be used for folk wanting to look at historical observations, decadal projections, long range forecasts or outlooks as they're called, 7-day forecasts, and then nowcasts and real-time observations. And we obviously understand that we're not the only source of truth, and there's a lot of other trusted third-party channels that folks get their weather, water and climate information from. Australian Water Outlook is one of those tools used for decision making, and I think Dale had some of that, reference to some of that in his presentation. So this simulates the landscape water balance for Australia, and the information comes from near real-time satellite data as well as climate data. So information on soil moisture, runoff, evaporation and deep drainage. I would say this website is ideal for looking at overall trends, and this tool wouldn't necessarily replace your on-farm soil moisture monitors for day-to-day decisions. My climate view, some may have heard of this. This is a product that came out of the project program, Climate Services for Agriculture. It's a collaboration between CSIRO and the BOM and part of the Australian government's Future Drought Fund. So we've got 22 commodities in total, and 10 of those are horticulture. So we've got almonds, apples, avocados, bananas, cherries, mangoes, oranges, potatoes, tomatoes and wine grapes we include in the horticulture group there. So yeah, it's helping every farm to understand its weather and climate trends. I would say my favourite part of the platform is actually looking at the historical trends and observations for your location. So I've picked Werribee South there, and summer rainfall over the past, what is that, 60 years. So they are observations, and then you've got for those that want to look at projections and long-term planning, take what you want out of that for the next 20, 30 and 50 years or something like that. If your commodity isn't on there, there is general climate factors for your location, so you don't have to pick a commodity there. Meti, so something to look at if you're wanting to know information for the next 7 days. This really helps visualize the local weather. Allows you to search for your location, save your favorite location, get 3 hourly forecasts. You can choose a map base, which I've got there, or a text text here. I would say this is not conducive to a phone, so best to use on laptop or PC. If you're wanting to use your phone, refer to the BOM app there. So the forecasts here are fine-tuned by our meteorologists, and they do best represent the expected weather, and they currently updated twice a day, and we're moving to 4 times a day. Maybe, I don't know if folk are going to check it 4 times a day, but some community members might out of agriculture. I have included QR codes as well, if anyone wants to scan them and have a play, or the slide deck, I believe, will be available afterwards. I wanted to touch on long-range forecast improvements. So from last year, the Bureau of Meteorology had a focus to update and change how we communicate climate information. And whilst it's very important to have background information and knowledge on climate influences like La Nina or El Nino or IOD or the SAM, like Dale's mentioned, and that's such important work goes into that. We really want folk to have that knowledge, but also focus on long-term forecasts. So rather than focusing on these individual climate indicators, try and keep up to date with the long-range forecasts, and because the ongoing changes in our climate systems, do include all those climate influences, but they're not the only factor. We've got oceans and atmosphere and several other factors that do influence a forecast. So just a bit of a watch point there. Certainly very important information, but don't rely solely on those. And I do cover off here, which I'm not going to bang on about, but just some of what was expected during an El Nino phase of hot and dry East Coast, and what was actually forecasted of future conditions, and then what actually happened with the rainfall data, which rainfall observations which did meet the forecast. So often media gets involved as well with dramatizing some of those phases. So just important to keep a level head and look at the long range forecasts. And I go in there to an example of La Nina where expectation was different to what was forecast and observed. And I just like this side for all the different phases of La Nina and El Nino, and how less or more rainfall has occurred. It's sort of like every flood is different. Every phase of these climate indicators is different as well. So how do you get the most out of the long range forecast? These long range forecasts produce weeks, months, and seasons. The model is run multiple times a day to get the idea of certainty and uncertainty in these ensemble forecasts. So you can get chances of above median, chances of extremely wet, extremely dry, outlook scenarios, and other products there on the website. So really encourage folk to go and have a play, and most importantly, look at your location rather than just a map of Victoria, because it really tells the story once you drill into your location. So I've got an example there on the left of how to search for your location, and then what you can look at within that. I've picked Werribee South as an example for some of our veggie growers, and how you can look at the the forecast over the next months or weeks. Just going into a little bit about when you do click on your location and how important it is to check the decile bar information. So I've always been taught that, you know, to think of ensemble members as 99 basketballs being rolled down a hill, and depending on where they turn up will, you know, provide the spread, the distribution spread of the ensembles, and how many end up belonging in each bucket or decile group. So just reiterating that white on a map without drilling in doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to receive rainfall in this decile, because once you drill in, it can be seen that there's no clear signal on this example, and there's an even spread of the ensemble members. And that's just going into, again, where the left-hand side here shows that the odds are stacked towards a wetter than usual season in this example, where the right-hand side here, like that previous example, shows there's no particularly strong signal of either a wetter or dry season ahead. So, you know, how much weight you put into your decision making may change, obviously, depending on the conditions that are forecasted for your location and the likelihood of receiving that. This is just probably going into it a little bit more about what it looks like on a map. This is an example of Tropical Cyclone Alfred, and a wide spread of ensemble members generally indicates a lower forecast confidence, whereas this is an example of a previous cyclone in Western Indian Ocean, and there was higher confidence forecast because the ensemble members were closely aligned. So all the basketballs down the hill, you know, landed close together. And that same principle applies in our long range rainfall and temperature forecasts. Just to complicate things a little bit further, I wanted to show you some research and non-operational products. This is what came out of Agri-Climate Outlook's project that finished up, I believe, last year. So these overlay maps are indicating both where the model has some confidence and also where there is too much uncertainty in those ensemble member spreads. So it's a good way to cover that distribution of the model and other factors indicating confidence. So I won't go into this too much further, but yeah, I can give a bit of an explain of that at another time, or anyone can give me a call to talk about that. So I wanted to show, yeah, Dale's gone over probably what we're expecting, so won't go into this too much, but this is from the Outlook. I've chosen Victoria here. Indicates above median rainfall at various regions of Victoria, and once you click in, it really tells the story of the forecast and what the likelihood is, you know, with some you know, confidence associated with that. And I've chosen here just an example of where you can choose just a two-week bracket rather than going into monthly. And depending on your risk appetite, what a 25% chance of rainfall occurring is compared to a 75% chance. And so I do like to show those, you know, potential rainfall rather than just the chance of receiving above median, because what does that mean for your area? I had a bit of a test question for the audience. And people are happy to throw that in the Q&A. So I wanted to ask the audience, based on the examples below, what is the chance of receiving more than 10 mils? And I've got a website example here. So if anyone wants to throw their guess in a chat, I had a very brave person in a live webinar that stood up in a room to throw down their guess. Essentially, haven't seen any come through, so I'll move on. And I've got the app example here. So essentially the possible rainfall of the chance of receiving more than 10 mils is actually 25% chance. So we've got very complex weather and climate information, and I don't know, somewhere along the line, someone thought it was a good idea in an effort to try and communicate that more easily, of putting a range of 1 to 10 mils. Doesn't mean there's a 70% chance of receiving 1 to 10 mils. What here is a possible rainfall, and you can see by those maps we're showing it's getting this information and putting it in, trying to communicate it in an easy to read way. Arguably, I don't think it's easy to read, but 25% chance of at least 10 mils here, and a 75% chance of at least 1 mil on this website example. And a chance of any rain is basically just any measurable rain. I think the old the old pan was at least 0.2 mils, so they've kept it at that for any measurable rain, so 70% chance there. And the website, another website example here, so at least in times gone by, the app has been updated that it gives an explainer and you can click on it, and yes, it still has that information up at the top, but normally down below you can see that 75% chance, 50% chance, at 25% chance. And we do have a new website coming in October, I believe, and same sort of thing. At the summary at the top still would say 4 to 35 mil, but then when you click down, it does give you that information. So it's always worthwhile not to just take a glance at something and really look into making sure you're getting the right information. All right, so I'll just cover off what I've probably gone through here. So every farm anywhere in the country. So we have 100 years of history with the Australian Water Outlook. You can get maps of recent and past conditions for observations in your area. 7-day forecasts use Meteorology. Next week to next season, long-range forecasts, and the next 5 decades for those wanting to delve into that and make some really long-term decisions. I think famously, Brown Brothers many years ago were the first to move a vineyard to Tasmania because of the conditions projected in the future. And going on to some training resources we've developed. So this is a product out of the AgriClimate Outlooks project, free online learning module, a bit of a 101 on climate and weather. So that is accessible now. And we also have our YouTube channel, which does give some good explainer videos to some other products and tools. So feel free to subscribe to that and get more updates. I did want to mention, while I have the room, the Bureau of Meteorology will be retiring our brown rot alert from the 1st of September. So obviously this only impacts some industries with stone fruit and cherries. The product itself was only ever issued for Victoria. There's several reasons why it will be retiring, and I'm happy to share a bit of a communication letter and briefing on that. But certainly want to ensure that there's an opportunity for the future to look at pest and disease alerts and whether they're right place for agriculture users is on the BOM app, and how advices during extreme weather event that relate to specific commodities may be confusing and misleading for some community members. So just some of the reasons why it's being retired, but certainly an effort to see how we can do it better in the future. And I've just dropped an example of what we're working on internally for some risk maps for some other for some diseases and brown rot as an example here, and how we can add value to the sector in the future with some other products. I did mention briefly our new website. The beta version's been around for over a year. And the main reason is that it's moving from HTTP to HTTPS. So essentially, for those that don't know, and I didn't either, it's more secure extension to prevent interception and tampering. So this was probably a must. We're probably a bit behind in that anyway. And so at the same time, the opportunity has been used to update the website and align it to a similar layout to our app, which has been well received over the years. So some try and get the same visuals there, and hopefully some better explainers for some forecasted rainfall. What's next? Like, what are we working on here at the Bureau of Meteorology? So we've, over the years, what did I say, eight to 9 years of our program, we've engaged with industry, gotten a lot of valuable insights into the needs of industry, and we don't pretend to know everything, that's for sure. But what services can we do to support agriculture that we have some control over? So understand that education and interpretation of forecasts would be highly valuable. So webinars like this and other one-on-one support for growers to get the most out of the Bureau products. We'd really like to work on a 0 to 30 day forecast. So we've got some of our SME scientists that say we're dreaming a bit big there. But yeah, how to bring that. We've got 7 day for Meta, and then we've got weekly and monthly for Outlook. And really how do we match our forecast to what the decisions that growers are making, and how can we improve that for them. I'm leading what we're calling Agri Risk IQ opportunity. So bit of an example of that brown rot map. Hopefully we can get that's our minimum viable product, so hopefully we can get a bit of something better than that. Yeah, being proactive in forecasting pests and diseases that are related to water, weather, or climate. Got some of our team working on seasonal calendar integration, and also in the Pacific Islands with a project over there. And that pretty much, that sums it up. Some pictures of what I talked about there. We do also issue a weekly water agriculture brief. So get in touch with that agriculture@bom.gov.au if you'd like to receive that, if you think that's relevant for your area. And yeah, happy to always have a chat.